No, he lost a lot of weight. His office is
Testing.
no timer.
Good evening. Nice to see you all here this evening. On behalf of the Petaluma branch of the American Association of University Women, the League of Women Voters of Sonoma County, and the Petaluma Argus Courier, I'd like to welcome you to a forum for candidates running for Sonoma County Board of Supervisors in the 2nd District. My name is Pam Granger, and I'll be the moderator for this evening. Now, the 2nd District includes all of the cities of Petaluma and Cotati, parts of Rohnert Park, as well as the unincorporated communities of Pengrove, Two Rock, Bloomfield, and Valley Ford. After 12 years in office, South County Supervisor Mike Kearns has announced that he will retire at the end of his term. We want to thank Mike for his years of service to our community as a police officer and a supervisor, and hope that he's successful in reducing his handicap in golf in his retirement. The void left by his retirement has created an open field of 4 candidates. The election will take place on Tuesday, June 8th, and if no candidate receives a clear majority of at least 50%, there'll be a runoff between the top 2 candidates in November. Before I introduce those candidates, I'd like to give you an outline of the format for tonight's program. First, each candidate will have 1 minute to make opening remarks. Then I'll begin the question and answer period, and each question will have 1.5 minutes to answer questions. They're from a list developed by the sponsors of tonight's forum. We should have time to take 4 or 5 questions from the audience. As you arrived this evening, you might have been given a 3x5 card. If you would like to submit a question of general interest for the entire panel, please put your questions on the card and pass them to the outside aisles where volunteers will collect those. Following the question and answer period, each candidate will have a 2-minute time period for closing remarks. Now we have timekeepers. Timekeepers for this evening are Rayleigh Album and Rosalie Gilmore. Say hi, girls. One of the timekeepers will indicate with a yellow caution sign when there are 15 seconds remaining during any of your comments. When time is up, she will display a red stop sign and ask that you complete your sentence and quit speaking. Tonight's forum is being broadcast live on Petaluma Community Access, Channel 28, and it will be taped for rebroadcast later. Also, Public TV Channel 22, KRCB, will rebroadcast tonight's program on Sunday, May 16th at 8 a.m. Video will also be available on pressdemocrat.com. Now, our candidates are seated on the dais in the order determined by a lot when they drew for cards early in this program. This seating will establish the starting point for opening statements, and we will continue to rotate through the questions. The candidate making opening remarks first will be the last for closing remarks. So now I'd like to introduce our candidates. First on my left is John King, followed by David Rabbitt, Pam Torliatt, and Mike Healy. Thank you all so much for being here. So let's start the question period. As I mentioned before, each of the candidates will have 1.5 minutes to answer these questions. Oh, excuse me, we'll have opening remarks. Just want to cut to the end. So we'll start with opening remarks of 1 minute with Mr. John King.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and to those of you at home this evening that are viewing this. I am honored to be here this evening, to be part of this election process, and to have a chance to speak out, speak up, and participate. A bit about myself. My family is one of those deep-rooted Irish farming families that came for the gold rush on my mother's side, but I think most of them learned that the real gold here in California and Sonoma County is in the land. Rural Sonoma County plays such an incredibly important role in the quality of life that we have here. Raised here, family farmed, and gosh, 15 seconds already. I'm stumped here with 10 seconds left. I think my roots are an asset. My education is important, and I'm committed to both rural Sonoma County and how it interacts with the city. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and that's why we give them a little bit longer for closing remarks. So now we'd like to hear from David Rabbitt.
Thank you, Pam. My name's David Rabbitt, and I want to tell you the 3 motivating reasons I'm running for this seat. And the first is what's motivated me to get involved in the community from the start are my kids. It's the reason I was PTA president when my oldest, who's now 18, was in 1st grade. I've continued through that in the last 13, 14 years working within the community. I worry about their future. The second is the economy. 11.3% unemployment is far too high for Sonoma County. It's time to get people back to work. 25% unemployment in the building trades is far too high. The underemployment rate for people like me as an architect is far too high. It's really time to kickstart the economy, get people back to work. And the third thing are my personal skills I bring to the set. As a small business owner, as an architect who understands planning and development, capital improvement projects, I bring a unique skill set to this job that I think I will do well for. I'm open, accessible to all, honest, straightforward, and I would appreciate your support and your vote on June 8th.
Thank you very much, David. Pam Torliatt.
Thank you. During these tough economic times, we need leaders with experience to protect our services and balance our budget. That's why I'm asking for your support as a Sonoma County supervisor. As a 4th-generation Sonoma County resident, I know firsthand the challenges that we face every day. As mayor of the city of Petaluma, I've proven that I can make the tough choices that governing requires, and that I have a real record of accomplishments for Sonoma County. With 18 years of experience in local and regional government, I have the executive leadership skills to provide innovative solutions to our greatest challenges and make sure Sonoma County remains a great place to live for future generations. I hope I can count on your vote. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mike Healy.
Thank you, Pam, and I'm the 4th Irish candidate you'll be hearing from tonight. I'm in my 3rd term on the Petaluma City Council. I've established a strong track record as a political moderate and as an independent voice and consensus builder on key issues. I have a collegial problem-solving approach. I have the skills and drive to tackle the tough issues and get results. I recruited a movie theater for downtown Petaluma when people thought that was not going to happen. I've held out for the Rainier Crosstown Connector and Interchange when its opponents tried to kill it. I successfully led the fight against a Petaluma casino, and I'm now a leader in the fight against the Rona Park Casino. I don't regard county supervisor as a stepping stone in my political career. If I'm elected, I intend to focus on that job, and I will strive to achieve real results for this community. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now we get to go to the question and answer period. So this time, the candidates will have 1.5 minutes in order to respond. We're going to move our way down. We're going to start with David. David, you gave a little bit of an opening talking about what qualifies you for the position and what you hope to achieve. So we're going to start by asking you to name 3 ways that you would propose to close what has been reported by the Press Democrat as the $50 million budget deficit facing the county. So in 1.5 minutes, what would you propose 3 ways that you would close this budget deficit?
In 1.5 minutes. Well, the first thing I would say, the deficit's now $61 million. If you saw this afternoon's Press Democrat, it's grown again today. It's an amazing, staggering number. Obviously, everything has to be on the table. You have to create priorities. I think that we want to make sure that public safety is a priority in this county. I think at some point you can't have cuts across the board and not expect to do everything poorly. I think you need to look at the essential services that the county needs to provide and count on those going into the future. I think it's going to be tough. There's going to be tough decisions. There's going to be tough decisions that need to be made that experienced business people make every day, especially in this economy. If you're talking about some specifics, I think in terms of the county, certainly the pension system has to be on the table. Whether or not it's sustainable in the future to have the same pension system that we offer now, it has to be on the table. The discussions have to take place. I've had endorsements from public safety people who cherish those pensions, but they've endorsed me knowing that it has to be on the table in the future. I think there's some small items that can be looked at. I think the use of overtime, whether it's approved properly and how it's utilized, I think in every government structure is still an issue that needs to be addressed. County vehicles taken home at night that cause the priority and whatnot, cell phones and all those things. I think I was happy to see this afternoon in the Press Democrat piece, Supervisor Zane talking about looking at the getting 10% from the contractors for the county. I think that's a smart move as well. At the end of the day, it's personnel cuts because that constitutes the majority of the budget.
Thank you so much. Nice job. Pam, same question. Would you name 3 ways that you would propose to close what has been reported by the Press Democrat, apparently more recently, a $61 million budget deficit facing the county?
Well, thank you for the question. As a mayor of the city of Petaluma, I have led an effort in order to balance our budget here in the city of Petaluma. We've had to go through drastic changes and cuts. And I believe that I have the experience to bring that to the Board of Supervisors, so we are able to work first collaboratively with the employees at the county to try to come up with the best ways of making those cuts. We certainly need to look at contracts that the county has and see if they are really ones that we need to continue. We also need to work on jobs in this county because we need to increase the revenues coming in to the city and county coffers through economic development. I would also say that we need to look at where we may be top heavy in county government. And I think that we really need to look at making sure that our management is not top heavy again. And make sure that we are putting people to work doing the jobs as opposed to just managing a few people. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mike, would you like me to repeat the question?
Oh, sure.
All right. So, not that you couldn't say more ways, but if you would name 3 ways that you would propose to close what has been reported as a $61 million budget deficit facing the county?
Thank you. I think the first thing that local elected officials need to do, and this is something we see at both the city and the county level, is to do everything you can to protect against further raids on our local revenue sources from Sacramento, which is a huge problem for both the city and the county. And that would be a priority for me. It's been a priority for me here at City Hall. I think we secondly want to work to grow the county's revenue base long term by making this by solving some of the infrastructure challenges we have that keep this from being a strong job creating region. And thirdly, I think we need to work collaboratively with all the stakeholders, including the employees and the retirees, to look for ways to save money in the near term. And I do agree with Pam that you don't want managers managing managers, and to some extent this is an opportunity to look for new ways of doing things. I also think it's important for elected officials to take a leadership role in sharing the pain. So in the city of Petaluma, where we have a furlough program for our employees, I have volunteered to give back 10% of my council pay and benefits while our employees continue on furlough. I'm pleased to report that one of my colleagues, Mike Harris, has joined me in that program, but so far he's the only one, and I think it's important for the leaders to share the pain. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, John.
Thank you. As a former auditor in public accounting, I can tell you that the importance of auditing the county general fund and knowing where the money's coming from and where it's going is a key cornerstone issue of addressing the budget issues. I have a lot of reasons to believe there's a tremendous amount of wasteful spending here in the county. It's got to stop. It's in a number of programs at various levels within the county administration. We, the taxpayers, can't continue to absorb this. Number 2, the economy is certainly a part of this. If we can't jumpstart this economy at the county level, and it begins with the Permit and Resource Management Department. We have got to open the floodgates and do everything possible to make new projects possible, approved quickly and efficiently, and do something to reduce some of these fees that are being charged that are prohibitive in terms of a lot of people moving forward with projects. It simply isn't affordable any longer. Salaries, benefits, 2 years ago, year and a half ago, supervisors increased their own salaries from $98,000 to $134,000 a year. They aren't the only ones where this has happened within the county administration. We can't continue to do this. So those are some of the starting points for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Here we're going to start with Pam on this question. We talked a little bit just now about how you would close the budget deficit. As sort of a balance to that, what are the most important social services that need to be maintained in light of the budget crisis?
Well, I think from my perspective, the in-home support services are a critical element of dealing with the seniors and those most vulnerable in our communities. And that is the first area that we really need to focus on. I certainly think that making sure that we're taking care of our youth and the services and programs that are provided through the county are supported through a collaborative process with our nonprofits, as well as working with county government. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mike, same question. What are the most important social services that need to be maintained in light of the budget crisis?
You know, they're all important, especially to the clients and the people who are affected by them. I would agree with Pam that in-home support services are very important. I regard the whole public health sector as important. Mental health is critically important, and when you skimp on mental health, you end up paying more in other places like the court system and homeless shelters. And I'm just going a little bit outside the boundaries of the question. I think that, you know, county government needs to be very helpful where it can in terms of supporting the entire health infrastructure that we have, and that includes making sure Sutter maintains its obligations to open a new hospital. Now, it turns out that about 60% of the private insurance in Sonoma County is through Kaiser. Full disclosure, I'm a Kaiser member. And Kaiser's doing great as the rest of the system is challenged. But even if you're a Kaiser member, you have a stake in keeping the public hospitals going. And for instance, in Petaluma, if you're a Kaiser member, you care about Petaluma Valley Hospital because that's the only emergency room in town. And that's, I think, something that all elected officials need to be focused on.
Thank you so much. John, social services that need to be maintained in light of the budget crisis.
All of them, without exception. There is a reason why all of these programs were developed to begin with. There's a need for all of them. And it would be inappropriate, I think, for myself or any candidate to try and target cuts. The flip side of the coin is the important side. And that is, it comes back to the spending here at the county and making sure that money goes to those programs, that the funding remains sustainable for all of them, if possible. And I'll say this again, it would be so inappropriate to target any program because they all have important value to the community. Thanks.
Thank you, David.
Thank you. Excuse me. They all are important, obviously, but I think obviously in light of the deficit, it's going to change the way we approach them. And I think it already has started to go in that direction. If you noticed, I think 2 weeks ago now, the county HIV program was turned over from county care to a nonprofit care. One of the reasons why it was because they get reimbursed at a higher rate than the county does. The service is being provided for those that need it, which at the bottom line is what we need in the county to have happen. So I think that you're right in terms of the collaboration required between all of the constituencies and medical care in the county. And we're seeing this as I serve on the Health Action Council. I think another thing important to know is preventative care for the youth especially. Youth obesity. I mean, even yesterday on the news, you saw the rates. The military came out and said how we're unprepared in case of a disaster and pulling children between 18 and 22. I think there's 27% obesity. That's a huge problem. those health problems move on in the future and cost us millions of dollars down the line. That's something that we need to work with. But I do think that it's going to become more collaborative work between the government and the nonprofits. We're lucky in this city and in the county itself to have a great network to do that with. And I think that's going to be the key to maintaining the quality of service without the necessary funds necessarily at the county level to make it all happen. Thank you.
Thank you so much. New question. So Mike, with continuing development in the future, the county faces a worsening water shortage in spite of the rain we had this morning. How would you address this problem and still maintain economic vitality?
In a minute and a half? Actually, that's a very interesting question, because here in Sonoma County, we don't actually have a water shortage so much as we have a plumbing problem. We have a 3-year supply of water sitting in Lake Sonoma right now, and we just can't access it because we can't get to it down Dry Creek. So I support a more aggressive approach towards trying to right-size and value engineer a Dry Creek bypass and getting that in place, so we don't have these chronic water shortages. You know, part of the response to that is, oh, it's too expensive. I think the cost can be gotten down by half, but also the County Water Agency has studies that show that the cost of a prolonged water shortage for the region is in the billions of dollars in terms of economic losses. So I think part of the response to the question that it costs too much and we can't afford it is, no, we actually can't afford not to do it. And I think it can be done in an environmentally responsible way. We have urban growth boundaries around all the cities that receive Sonoma County Water Agency water. There's enormous public support for those. Those are going to continue in place. And so I also think that getting the Dry Creek bypass in place would take a lot of pressure off the aquifer, because you wouldn't be forcing the cities to pump their own wells as much as they are now. So there's a benefit to the rural landowners as well. Thank you. I could go on at length on that one.
Thank you very much for not. Okay, John, I'm just going to repeat that again. Given the fact that there's apt to be development and that there's a worsening water shortage, how would you address the water issues and still maintain economic viability?
10 years ago, I brought forth the first suit of its kind here in Sonoma County against the city of Rohnert Park. I can tell all of you with great certainty, we are literally running out of water here in Sonoma County. Between exporting 6 billion gallons a year into Marin County, with more on the way, with a new larger pipeline tied to the freeway widening project, we can't continue to do this. We also have saltwater intrusion that's now contaminating one of the groundwater basins here in the county. Exports to Marin have to stop. Number two, we have to build more reservoirs here in Sonoma and Marin counties. Number three, I promise all of you that what is yet to come here in Sonoma County is already happening in the Los Angeles Basin. By law and through the courts, they are now forced to use reverse osmosis microfiltration to increase the quality of treatment. It's injected into the ground and removed again and reused for human consumption. If we don't deal with these issues now, and I mean now, not 3 years from now, we will end up with a court-adjudicated water rights that's mandatory rationing here in this county. And I find it appalling that the cities, including the city of Petaluma, continues to get as much water as it can for its future at the peril of Sonoma County's rural residents. We all share the same groundwater supplies.
Thank you. David?
Thank you. Certainly a clean, sustainable water supply is going to be crucial to the county in the future, as it is now. I think what the Board of Supervisors did by changing the water plan or taking a shift last year was actually a smart move, because we have, right now we're pulling about 55,000 acre-feet of water. We have rights up to 75,000. We do have a cushion of time. It's true that we need the Dry Creek bypass, but the biological opinion that needs to be implemented is about $100 million. You can't do both at the same time without affecting your water rates significantly. We all know in this particular town what happens when that gets out there. I think that there is caution, there is a little bit of time involved. I think we need to move in the future to ensure that we have a sustainable, clean water supply. It is crucial, but we need to do it in a smart, thorough, methodical way. and I think we are on the way to do that. It's true, like everything in this county and this city, our infrastructure needs improvement. We need additional water storage. We need additional water pipelines. We have an aged parallel or an aqueduct down to this portion of the county, the South County, that's at the end of its lifespan. If all it takes is one natural disaster, and we have no water. So obviously it's something that we need to address.
Thank you very much. Pam?
Thank you. As mayor of the city of Petaluma, I represent the city of Petaluma on the Water Advisory Committee. And that committee is made up of the contractors that contract for water with the Sonoma County Water Agency. I've been that representative for over 10 years. I really understand the need to balance the divergent needs for water, whether it's agriculture, whether it's recreational facilities on the Russian River, and whether it's potable water supply for the cities and contractors with the Sonoma County Water Agency. And it is going to be crucial that we focus on an environmentally sensitive way as well as an economic way that we can actually afford to pay the rates. We also need to work on the Sonoma County Water Agency being more transparent in how it's charging us for our water supply. And I have fought for that on the Water Advisory Committee, and I think it's crucial as a member of the Board of Supervisors that that continues to be a message that we send, and as a member of the Board of Supervisors, I certainly will work in that vein. The Sonoma County Water Agency also needs to focus on its original mission, which is the 75,000 acre feet and securing that water right in the Russian River, as well as the flood control projects in the river. The Water Agency has gone way out of those bounds. We need to bring it back and focus on the original mission. Thank you.
Thank you so much. A new question, and we're going to start with you, John, on this. How would you handle the transportation issues that we have in Sonoma County, including access to public transportation and improving our transit infrastructure that includes streets and highways? So transportation issues.
Easy. Money's tight. We're short on money here in the county. I'll tell all of you that I voted against the SMART train. As a former external auditor for Southern Pacific Railroad, I'm well versed in that former Northwestern Pacific line. It's going to be a loser. It's going to be a money pit for you, the taxpayers, that are funding a train that stops in Larkspur. The solution for mass transit hasn't changed. It's still the cheapest form is busing. Not very desirable by a lot of people, but in terms of the economics and where we are today here in the county and the overall state of the economics here, transportation, we're going to have to push for busing to come back whether you like it or not. The train isn't going to do it. You can only add so many lanes to the freeway. You've all been to Los Angeles and other places. You can only do so much in terms of accommodating cars. It will be busing, and most likely in its most aggressive form, most of you in this room will live to see the day. If you're a commuter into Marin or into San Francisco, it'll become law that you use mass transit.
Thank you so much. I'm going to repeat the question. How would you handle transportation issues that we have in Sonoma County, including access to public transportation and improving our transit infrastructure that includes streets and highways?
Thank you. In terms of public transportation, I think the key for me has always been that we need to strive to make public transportation not the transportation of last resort. I think too many times that's what happens. John mentioned the bus system, or pushing people on buses. I supported SMART because I think that SMART, although not a panacea for our corridor, at least it's a start in the right direction. It'll grow over time, and it's never going to be it's never going to be less expensive in the future than it is to put in now. I think that once the transit-oriented hubs get established along the way, it will be successful, and it'll be something that will be desirable for people to take, as opposed to the buses, which we know are not reaching as many people as we would like. So I do think it's important. it's important to know that SMART goes for, it doesn't just stop in Larkspur, but for us it starts in Cloverdale and comes all the way down through Larkspur. And I think it's important for this district to make sure that the entire system gets built. We need to work collaboratively with lots of powers to make that happen. In terms of the freeway infrastructure and the roads themselves, I've always been a proponent from day one of the widening of 101 from Windsor all the way to through the Narrows, the Marin County line. For me, it's not as much a capacity issue as it is a safety issue. I just feel the Narrows is much safer with 3 lanes each way as opposed to 2 when you have a slow truck and a fast car going side by side. I think that, for me, is important. And in terms of the road quality in town, I think that, or in the county, I think we need to address it systematically over time and understand safety first. It should be the priority. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Pam?
Can you read the question again,
Mm-hmm.
please?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
How would you handle the transportation issues that we have in Sonoma County, including access to public transportation and improving our transit infrastructure that includes streets and highways?
Thank you. Well, as mayor of the city of Petaluma and when I served on the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, I worked with others in order to secure $50 million worth of funding for the Sonoma Marin Narrows project to get the right-of-way as well as some of the design completed for that project. I've also led the way as the mayor of the city of Petaluma to secure the full funding for the East Washington Interchange project, which will allow for a northbound on-ramp onto Highway 101 behind the current Raley's. That project will break ground in October of this year. I also have worked very hard on improving streets and roads. We've allocated millions of dollars and improved streets and roads, which got people back to work and working in the city of Petaluma as far as job creation. From a public transportation standpoint, as a Metropolitan Transportation Commissioner, we allocated $1 billion a year in transportation dollars throughout the 9 Bay Area counties. Public transportation is a key component of that area. As mayor, I led the way to form the Transit Advisory Committee at the City of Petaluma, and I served on that committee trying to be very inclusive of people and their needs, and that's what we continue to need to do, is to fight for those that don't have enough money to be able to provide for their own transportation. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike? And the question is, how would you handle the transportation issues that we have in Sonoma County, including access to public transportation and improving our transit infrastructure that includes streets and highways?
Thank you for repeating the question. Well, first of all, I served on the SMART Board of Directors for 3 years, so I'm thrilled to see that project approved and moving forward. I think it's going to be a big benefit to the region, and it will help guide smart transportation and growth policies, city-centered growth. In terms of street maintenance, the overall problem with street maintenance, both at the city and the county level, is lack of adequate funding. Here in the city of Petaluma, we should be spending between $6 and $7 million per year just to keep things from getting worse. We're actually spending about $3 million a year, and the City Council recently balanced our budget for this current fiscal year by grabbing $300,000 out of that $3 million for non-street maintenance purposes. And I voted against that because I thought it was the wrong thing to do. I thought we should have looked in other places. I was Petaluma's representative for 6 years on the Sonoma County Transportation Authority, including when Measure M was passed. That's why you're seeing the progress on Highway M right now. I'm a huge supporter of widening the Novato Narrows, and quite frankly, Pam, you have a very checkered history on that. You voted to endorse the Calthorpe proposal, which called for never widening the Narrows. More recently, you called for spending money to widen the segment through Novato that's already 3 lanes wide to 4 lanes before coming up here and doing the 2 lanes to 3 lanes. It's also very important to have a strong supporter of the Rainier project in the South County Supervisor seat. That's a county issue as well as a city issue, because that person works with Caltrans and the County Transportation Authority. Thank you.
And thank you so much. So we're going to start with one last question before we go to audience questions. And this question would be, we're big on 3 ideas. What are 3 ideas, starting with David? What are 3 ideas that you have to promote economic development And how does the general plan play a role in your ideas? Promote economic development with consideration of the general plan.
Sure. I think that first and foremost, the county, everyone talks about creating jobs when they sit here as a county supervisor. In fact, the county supervisors aren't necessarily creating the jobs. In fact, unless you're hiring more county employees, and as you saw in tonight's Press Democrat, you're probably going to be firing up to 200 in this latest round. So you're not actually creating more jobs. What you are doing is allowing the private sector to create those jobs. And I think that really needs to be understood. I think the way that you do that is it's the cumulative effect of onerous regulations on the private sector that creates an atmosphere or a culture in this community that makes people turn elsewhere or makes it too difficult for them to enlarge their business. I think you need to understand the ramifications of those decisions. I think if you're in business, you understand that. It's not that far-fetched, but if you don't have a business acumen, if you've never had an employee, it's something that you really don't get. And I think that you need to stop acting autonomously and really understand that when businesses thrive, we thrive. That's where we get our revenue. Then you can do all the projects that are so great and everyone talks about. But unless you have money in the coffers, it's not going to happen. So to me, the most important thing is to really get the businesses going in that sector. I think the agricultural community, obviously, has been wise in the way that they've adapted and evolved over the course of time. And it's important also for the supervisor, especially in this district, to understand that and to allow them to have that to evolve and change over the course of time to be successful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to repeat the question, Pam. 3 ideas that you have to promote economic development, and how does the general plan play a role in your ideas?
Well, as someone that has leadership experience and has served on regional boards and commissions, I know how important it is to serve on those boards and commissions to bring the money back to Sonoma County. As someone that has served on the Bay Area Air Quality Management District, I recognize the need to certainly improve our air quality here in Sonoma County by reducing particulate matter. And what we've done is I've brought home $1.5 million to our agricultural community in grant fundings and grant funds for equipment here in Sonoma County. That has spurred an additional economic development because they're buying goods in Sonoma County. Second of all, infrastructure improvements are putting taxpayer dollars to good work and creating jobs in this county. We need to program those jobs for infrastructure improvements like the East Washington interchange, like the highway widening for Highway 101, for the SMART train, because those are going to create good paying jobs for us in Sonoma County. Another way that we need to help facilitate business and a process where I as mayor have led the effort to revamp our community development department in order to facilitate the permitting process here, I think has shown its incredible achievements by us processing more applications in the last probably year than we did in the last 3 years. We will do that at the county level. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mike, your idea is to promote economic development, taking into consideration the general plan.
Thank you. I think some of the key items have been touched on before, but this is a way to kind of pull things together. I think Sonoma County has great natural beauty. We have a motivated workforce. We have a lot of really great attributes that would make companies want to come here and be here and grow here. We have some infrastructure challenges that I think it's local government's responsibility to take the lead in tackling. The biggest single infrastructure constraint we have is Highway 101. We've talked about that. You all understand why that's such a big problem. The second one I think we have is that we have not managed to get our arms around a realistic solution on the water supply side. I think that's achievable, and that's something I'm very focused on. The third thing is maybe a little bit out of left field here in terms of this topic, but I'm going to mention it anyway, and I think that's why I'm such a leader in fighting against the Roner Park Casino, because I think that has the ability or the capacity to undermine a lot of the things we're trying to achieve here. You know, everyone puts efforts into general plans. They're ignoring general plans. we're trying to create additional freeway capacity, they want to clog it up. And you have all the social ills that that brings, and that would really, I think, harm the quality of life for not just Rohnert Park, but the entire region. And I think it's just absolutely the wrong thing to do, and that's why I'm such a strong opponent of that. And I do think it can still be stopped, which is why I'm continuing to fight it.
Thank you. And finally, John, your 3 ideas to promote economic development, and how does the general plan play a role in your ideas?
County general plan plays almost no role in economic development. I worked on that county general plan and battled on that document for 6 years. The county general plan is about rural lands. Development, commercial development, it doesn't take place in rural Sonoma County for the most part. It takes place in the cities. So you all need to understand there's a huge disconnect. County general plan does not provide for that. It doesn't even outline any course of action to make sure we have sustainable water supplies. How can you expand an economy if you don't have additional water supplies to service the needs of the public or industry? Number 2, if you want to rebuild the economy here in Sonoma County, how many people here are willing to invest in American-made products? We can't encourage manufacturing to come to Sonoma County if we're not willing to pay American labor rates and buy goods and services produced here. And I'll give you a good example of what we've lost forever. Mare Island Shipyard. 7, 8 years ago, I attended the hearings at the city of Vallejo and pleaded to them why it was so important to maintain that facility so that we had a training facility, a fabrication shop. No, sold it off. Parts and components for the Oakland Bay Bridge coming from China. Cranes in Oakland coming from China. County general plan does not address these issues. Thank you.
And thank you. So we're going to take a look at some questions from the audience. Pam, we're going to start with you.
Okay.
So one of the questions indicates to what extent should a county supervisor take into consideration the stance of city council or community members on controversial issues such as the Dutra asphalt plant?
What a good question. As mayor of the city of Petaluma, we have led the effort here at the city council chambers responding to an outcry from our community because of the proposal for a Dutra asphalt plant right outside the city limits of Petaluma. Not only is it going to be detrimental to the city of Petaluma because the county does not have any supportive infrastructure down in the south end of the county, and the city of Petaluma would have to rely, or they would have to rely on the city of Petaluma. It is going to devastate, in my opinion, our tourism. And the issue around tourism, it's the #1 economic driver here for us to create revenues in the future for Sonoma County. We can't afford to have that kind of a vision being put up in the front of our county as the picture to this incredible open space, incredible farmlands, incredible quality of life that we all enjoy, that we want to really share with the rest of the world. This asphalt plant is going to be extremely detrimental to the investment that we have made in Schollenberger Park, in our wastewater treatment facility, which has been an investment by the Coastal Commission, by the City of Petaluma, by the County of Sonoma and the Open Space District. We need to start working together and listening to our cities. And I will do that as a county supervisor.
Thank you very much. The question is, to what extent should a supervisor take into consideration the stance of city council and or the citizens on controversial issues such as the Dutra asphalt plant?
Thank you. Well, first of all, let me just go to the specific and circle back to the general. I oppose the proposed asphalt plant. I do agree that a South County asphalt plant would be helpful if a suitable site could be identified. In my opinion, that hasn't happened yet. What I would say in terms of community input and cities' opinions, yes, of course, those are valuable. One thing I would do a little bit differently as the county supervisor would be to show up in this room and communicate with the city council here in Petaluma and also in Cotati on a regular basis, which is something that the incumbent, with all due respect, has not really done much of. I think partly because this atmosphere has been less than pleasant for him on occasion. But that's part of the job, and I have a thick skin, and that's okay. I think in looking back in hindsight with the Dutra proposal, I think one of the lessons, one of the teachable moments from this is that, and one of the reasons the county is so frustrated with the way it's turning out now, is they feel they've played by all the rules in terms of noticing, but the noticing really didn't work very well. You know, if you publish a legal notice in the newspaper and people don't notice it, gee, what a surprise. So I think we just need to be a little bit more outside the box and creative in making sure that there's effective noticing for potentially controversial projects very early in the process, and that's something I want to do.
Thank you very much. And John, so the question, to what extent should a supervisor take into consideration of the stance of a city council and or the citizens on controversial issues such as the Dutra project?
There's two legal jurisdictions in this county. The cities are legal islands. Rural Sonoma County is the other jurisdiction. County supervisor is elected to represent rural Sonoma County. There are 4 exceptions where county supervisor has jurisdiction in the cities: the freeway, the river, rent control, and water that comes into the cities. Clearly, there is an important relationship between the cities and rural Sonoma County. Absolutely, yes, the county supervisor needs to be active with and meet with the city councils throughout the 2nd District and beyond. There has to be this recognized relationship between rural Sonoma County and the cities. April 2nd, 2002. That's the last time Mike Kearns came to the Pengrove community. The public is starved for a county supervisor who is willing to meet on a regularly scheduled basis with all of the constituents in both the cities and rural Sonoma County. It hasn't been happening. In terms of sensitive projects, county supervisor needs to follow all of the projects and maintain that awareness and relationship so that it benefits everyone in Sonoma County. Dutra. I have watched, I'm old enough to have watched businesses leave the United States for how many decades? Four decades or more. My question concerning Dutra: is it possible scientifically to find a solution for that plant? And the other part of the issue is we've got a real problem with the owners of that plant and their track record of breaking the law. Everything has to be considered. Thanks.
Thank you so much. David?
Thank you. I think this one will probably all be in the same, on the same side. I think it is, to what extent shall the county supervisors take into account the city's needs or issues? They certainly most definitely should. And I think if anything in the Dutra case, its history is obviously interesting. For 3 years there was really silence. I can guarantee you that if I was your supervisor, I would bring that to your attention post haste, because you can't hide those things. You know it's going to become an issue at some point in time. I think, just like the Regency Center here in town, that it's important to get out in front of those things, to shape it to the best of your ability, to have input from day one, not sit back and wait for it to come to your lap 3 years down the line. By that time, the company that's proposed the proposal has so much money invested, they're not going to be very apt to want to change or do anything too drastically. I think there's a lesson to learn, to be learned there in process. Obviously, it's a jurisdictional issue. I can tell you that we don't have an established hybrid system in place for anything. We got the same issue really with the casino in Roanoke Park. I think that I can assure you that, again, if I was your supervisor and that plant came forward, I would let you know about it. I would be here in the chambers and I would be shouting, making sure that you were on board with us at the county if that's where the county wanted to go. I can also tell you that the county's image of that particular end of town differs greatly from the city's image. The city talks about that area as a gateway. The county does not see that area as a gateway. It sees it as a semi-industrial area. They haven't been on the same page. There's no reason they shouldn't be. I think there's blame to go around on all sides.
Thank you very much. All right. So we're going to start this time with Mike. Another audience question. As a supervisor, how would you influence services for South County children? How would you influence services for South County children?
You know, when you go door to door and you ask people what issues they think are the most important things for county government to focus on, I'd say 50% of the time the answer involves schools. And, you know, then you generally remind people that County Board of Supervisors doesn't have a whole lot to do with schools, that there are separately elected school boards and they're getting their funding from Sacramento, which of course is not a good thing these days. What I would say is that, you know, I do look out, and I have made a practice of this, to look for opportunities to help the schools. My two kids both attend public high school, I get it. So one of the things I've been trying to do in Petaluma recently is work with our new garbage franchisee to get free garbage service for the K-12 public schools in town. We're not there yet. I haven't given up, but that would probably save the equivalent of about 2 teacher positions through the different districts that serve Petaluma. And you know, the other services that rely on that the kids rely on, the family services, the juvenile court system. Those are all the kinds of things that are going to be very, very challenged in this budget environment. And you know, as the other candidates indicated before in response to a previous question, all those services are important. We'll do everything we can to save them, but to some extent we're going to be looking for new ways of doing things.
Thank you very much. John, the question was, how would you influence services for South County children?
Easy question. Easy question. Whoever gets elected to this seat is not given a magic wand. This is a great example in this question of why it's so important to elect somebody who's got the guts and the interest to reach out and work with the public and in effect be the county's head cheerleader. We don't have town hall meetings anymore. We have city council meetings in the cities, but the public never really gets a chance to speak out on topics, and the supervisors have missed the opportunity to reach out to the constituents, a big mistake. So when you talk about making services available, particularly for children, it's about money. The money comes from you. Somebody has to reach out to you and explain to you why it's important and make the best pitch possible for you to make a decision whether or not you're going to spend more money. Because if you're not willing to spend the money, it stops there. And we're seeing this happening throughout the county on so many different levels because county taxpayers have had enough. They don't know where the money's going. They're tired of being lied to, and we do not have transparent government in the cities, let alone rural Sonoma County. County supervisor, the next one, they better be willing to put the cards on the table and reach out to you, the public, in town hall forums to really discuss and develop the opportunities to make the funding possible, if at all.
Thank you very much. And David, how would you influence services for South County children?
Thank you. Well, obviously, anyone who knows me knows that I'm active, I'm an advocate for children. I've always have been. I have 3 of my own children. I have an 18-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 13-year-old. They're active in the community. They're active in sports. We participate with them on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, in terms of driving them to and from. It's important to me. It's also grown in the fact that we bring the other kids with us to make sure that they're getting to practice, they're getting to games, and I know in a few cases it's a good thing that they're getting there because the influences are great. I think there's a mentor program involved in that, and I think that we all benefit from it. Like I said earlier, I started as PTA president and worked through the school district with the Fund Development Task Force and the campaign committees on Measure C and K way back when. I think there's a collaboration that's needed in this county. Again, I look at the Boys and Girls Club as a prime example of that. I'm also a board member of Tomorrow's Leaders Today, which is a leadership program for high school juniors, much like Leadership Petaluma, where once a month they go off in a different segment of the community. I led 2 of them this year, one right in this room for Government Day, another one for Planning and Development Day. I'd like to expand that internship program throughout the county if I'm supervisor. I think that would be a great thing. I know I would have benefited from that as someone who wanted to be an architect but really didn't know what it was all about, to go and to actually look at, we have great business companies here in town that would be able to do that, and I'm sure that would work well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Pam, how would you influence services for South County's children?
Well, certainly through the budget process, I would focus on South County services. As mayor of the city of Petaluma, I've taken a leadership role by putting together the nonprofit and executive directors for roundtable discussions. I certainly want to listen to them and get their input, so when I go back to the Board of Supervisors, I know exactly what they want and can advocate directly for it. I think we should also support a living wage, because if you support a living wage and you're paying parents enough money to be able to provide for their children, that will actually allow services for their children. I would also say working with our schools, certainly knowing what their needs are. That is why I have been endorsed by the Sonoma County Educators Council, because the teachers in Sonoma County know that I'm going to reach out and work with them as a supervisor. And I would also say we need to continue to work diligently with our elected officials at the state and federal government. I've been endorsed by Congresswoman Lynn Woolsey, Senator Mark Leno, Senator Wes Chesborough, Assemblymember Noreen Evans, and Senator Pat Wiggins. They know that I will work with them to fight for services for not only children, but those most vulnerable in our communities. Thank you.
So we're going to start this next question with you, John. What would you, as supervisor, do to create an atmosphere that would encourage green jobs in the county?
Creating green jobs. Well, the public is showing interest in hybrid cars. The public would like to support green jobs and manufacturing. This is a whole new chapter for everyone's future, not only here in Sonoma County, but beyond. I'd like to see a lot of green technology companies move here to Sonoma County. And it comes back to the same fundamental question. We can embrace these concepts and we can believe it's the wave of the future. But in terms of jobs and supporting this sort of economic development, are you, the consumers, willing to support this and pay the price for American-made goods and services, including the green industry and the technology tied to it? If you're not willing to support it and support the development and technological advancement and research that takes place here in this nation and in this county, we have nothing. It all comes back to you, the public and the taxpayers, and you're the consumers. You are the most powerful group in this county. It's not the county supervisors. So it's really up to you. As a county supervisor, I'll push to get any and every company to come into this county, but you got to back it. Thank you.
Thank you. So, David, how would you foster an environment that creates and or promotes green jobs in the county?
Thank you. Well, I think the first and foremost, to create an atmosphere to create green jobs is to create an atmosphere that would create any jobs. And again, to go back to what I said earlier regarding the government understanding that, to know how to make a business successful, you have to be a business person. There is no difference in that vein. In terms of infrastructure is required, obviously. I think for any jobs, if a company is looking to relocate, they're going to look at your school system. They're going to look at your county roads and transportation sector. They're going to look at how where their workforce is going to live, how affordable it's going to be. These are all quality of life issues. They're all very much important, and they're all obviously going to be taken into consideration by any company that's going to be here, whether they're green or not. And the green piece might add additional requirements of certain types of infrastructure, and I think that would serve as well. I think that we have the start of that here now. I also think that rather than attracting that large business to come here and relocate, which I think is a good thing, the businesses over time that really have that are really tied to the community are the ones that start locally, that have the roots here. I think of Clover, or even down in Palo Alto, you think of Hewlett Packard. They can go anywhere in the country, but they remain a presence at Stanford University because they have a tie to Stanford. They have interns coming out of Stanford working for them. I think if we can create that, get that person with the idea to create the next great business here in Petaluma, that would last longer than a business moving in from a country where they can move back to in a few months.
Thank you so much. So Pam, what would you do as supervisor to create or foster an atmosphere that would encourage green jobs in the county?
Well, I think that there's a variety of things that you can do as a supervisor. First is ensure that you have a permitting process that is facilitated and people can get through the system in a pretty easy way. And as mayor of the city of Petaluma, we address that issue head on. I will address that issue head on at the county of Sonoma. We also have to invest in alternate modes of transportation as well as road projects. Multimodal transportation is green jobs because you're providing for an infrastructure that we can use for infill development here in the city and create jobs, not just in Petaluma, but in every city in Sonoma County. We also need to continue with the Sonoma County Energy Independence Program, which allows individuals to be able to put in greening of their own homes, changing out their windows, and putting in solar, making sure that they are upgrading their homes to be energy efficient. And that is a program that the county still has almost $60 million, I believe, available to create, again, construction jobs where we have been most hardest hit here in the county. From an air quality standpoint, I've been working on the Clean Air Plan. That will provide jobs here in the 9 Bay Area counties, not just in Sonoma County, by ensuring that we have clean air available for us. We also need to continue to protect our open space and our agricultural roots. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mike, how would you, as supervisor, create or foster an atmosphere that would encourage green jobs in the county?
Thank you. I think that the other candidates hit several of the salient points. I do think that you want a transparent and predictable planning process. With all due respect, I think Petaluma is not quite there yet. If the Regency saga teaches any lessons, and now we've got some other folks who are hung up as well. But I think the intention is good. Certainly, you hear horror stories about permitting at the county level, and I think again, transparency, predictability, a timeline that you can count on is what folks are looking for. I think that the County Water Agency has rightly been a leader in trying to promote alternative energy sources because they are a huge user of electricity. They're trying to diversify their electricity portfolio very creatively in ways that get them off of the carbon footprint. I want to support continuing to do that in a cost-effective manner. I think you want to, I don't know that we have the size to be the next Detroit of the solar industry, and we may not want to be the next San Jose or, with all due respect, even Palo Alto. Even though I went to college there, it's a great place to visit. But I do think that we can have small manufacturers, highly specialized manufacturers that build components for those kinds of things and be in there. And I think Sonoma State University is a great resource. I also think that locally grown food and the ag sector plays a role in green jobs as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice job, everybody. So Here's just a little territorial question. This will start with you, David. How will you ensure that South County gets its fair share of county resources?
Well, you know, it always is an issue because we're the only district in the county that doesn't somehow intersect with Santa Rosa. So we are a little bit of an island down here in the South County and at the obviously adjoining Marin, and it is an issue. And I think for years that we did go without, and specifically in the open space venue, I think that we suffered in years past. I think that it's important to have a presence here. I think that Supervisor Kearns did start a little bit of that in terms of getting county courts across the hallway. I think that we need to improve on that. I think that, as we mentioned earlier, having certainly as a supervisor, having office hours and listening to your constituents down in the South County or in the both in Roanoke Park here and Cotati and Petaluma. I think that's important. I think that it's going to be a constant battle to make sure that you work collaboratively with your colleagues. To do anything takes 3 votes. And I think more than anything, you need to be an individual that can communicate well with your colleagues, that you can convince them of what the right thing to do, that you can sit and debate those issues as an adult, and really work as an advocate for the county, or for the South County, and that's exactly what I would do as your supervisor.
Thank you. So, Pam, how will you ensure that South County gets its fair share of county resources?
Well, I think one of the most important things is having experience on all of these bodies. And as someone that has been working on your behalf for over 18 years, I have experience with transportation, health services, air quality, and really working on creating jobs here in the city of Petaluma and in South County. We need to continue to work on prioritizing projects in the county budget that are for South County. I also think what we need to do more of as a supervisor, if I'm elected supervisor, is work with the other elected officials that are in our district. I have been endorsed by the entire Cotati City Council. I've also been endorsed by all of the mayors in South County. I have an excellent relationship with them, and we need to work together to make sure that we are getting our fair share, and we can do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mike?
You know, the biggest single place where I've noticed the South County getting the short end of the stick in my tenure on the city council over the last 10 years has been in the transportation arena. And you have to realize that the Sonoma County Transportation Authority, which is the body that prioritizes spending for the entire county, consists of 12 members, one of whom is a Petaluma City Council representative, and one of whom is generally the South County Supervisor, but the other 10 are from further north. And that's really why you're seeing the widening going up to Windsor before it got down here, which is, you know, very frustrating to all of us. The good news is that's done now, and now they get it, that they need to finish the rest of it because it matters to them. So I really think you're going to see that shift over the next few years, because they want to roll the widening south from where it is now. It's now funded through Pepper Road. Hopefully it'll be funded through Old Redwood Highway within a few months, and we can get that under construction. But it's really, the South County's transportation needs really are constricting the entire region. And the other folks on the County Transportation Authority do understand that, so I think you'll see that improve. I do agree that we need to get our county-owned courtroom across the hallway more used, so that we do get local services and people don't have to travel to Santa Rosa for everything. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And John?
Yes.
How would you ensure that South County gets its fair share of county resources?
Again, I think some of these issues are so straightforward. You need an advocate at the county level. That person is called the county supervisor. We haven't had that in the 2nd District for the better part of 12 years. Actually, I could argue much longer than that. We have a courtroom. It's not being used. You have to drive to the county. You have to go to the county in Santa Rosa, get a restraining order. All the programs and all the resources, you need an advocate. There is no mystery. If you, the public, have been convinced that this is a tough job, I'm talking about this issue, it isn't. You just need somebody that's willing to roll up their sleeves, get out of the office, county office, meet with the public. It's pretty clear what the needs are here in the 2nd District on so many fronts. You just need somebody that's willing to go to work for you and be productive. And we've lost sight of that. And so when I'm out going door to door, I hear this all the time. The discouragement from the public. It's not possible. It's an attitude that we can't win. You put me in office, you're going to find out what being number 1 is all about. Thank you.
There you have it. The last question before we go to our closing remarks will be a kind of a short one. I mean, you know, as those things go, it's not the question so short. We'd like your answer to be a little shorter, if you would. There's been some discussion on what's been missing. So let me ask you, and we'll be starting this time with Pam. How about a minute? What's your plan to stay connected with your constituents?
Well, as someone that has run for office and won on numerous occasions, I think that the people in South County and in our community know that I'm someone that's out there. I'm a promoter. I am walking in your precincts. We've walked Petaluma, Cotati, Roanoke Park. I've walked unincorporated areas. I go to you, the people. And I really care about this county and what we are going to do. As mayor of the city of Petaluma, I've convened various groups in the community to ensure that I'm staying in touch with the Latino community here, with our religious community, and certainly from a countywide perspective, understanding the needs that we have from an infrastructure standpoint and creating jobs here in Sonoma County. I have been actively working on bringing new businesses to the city of Petaluma. We have Vera Health that's just located here. We have Strauss Family Creamery and a variety of others that are coming here because of our attributes and what we have here in South County to promote our open space. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Mike, your brief plan to stay connected with your constituents?
You know, one of the things I love most about Petaluma and southern Sonoma County is that it's a community of, 60,000 people inside Petaluma, more if you go outside the city limits, that acts like a town of 5,000 in terms of the way everyone's connected in different social circles. So, I know kids, I know people through my youth, or through my kids' sports, from schools, from church, all kinds of different circles. I've also run for office more times than I care to count. And I know a lot of people in town. The key thing is not who's knocking on your door during the election, it's who stays in touch afterwards. And that's why I will continue to come to council meetings, even though I won't have to read the agenda packets. I'll go to Cotati council meetings. I'll go to other community meetings. And, I respond to emails. My phone number's in the phone book, and I pick up my own phone. I'm very accessible, and I make a point of being that way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And John, what would be your plan to stay connected?
My plan to stay connected is the same thing I've been doing for 11 years. And before I go any further, you've only seen these people when they're running for election. That's why they're knocking on doors. 11 years ago, when I took on this water issue, and 140 families backed me in litigation for groundwater supplies for most of Sonoma County, I bought a bulk mailing permit. I started printing up flyers by the thousands. I had public meetings in the Pengrove community again and again and again on water, on the casino, on the county general plan, on traffic circulation and impacts on rural communities generated primarily in the cities. So I've already started. I'm not starting now. I started 11 years ago. And this next supervisor better set up a calendar to meet with the public on a regularly scheduled basis. And these promises now that they're running for office, aren't you getting tired of this? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And David, how would you remain connected with your constituents?
Well, I think the key there is remain, because I've always been connected with the constituents. I've been connected with the community for the last 15 years. It's not something I only do when I'm running for office. I've only done this twice. Like I said, 15 years ago, I was PTA president. I was connected with the small school community. I moved on to be connected to the larger school district community. I moved on from there to be connected to the larger youth sport community, both in Little League and in soccer. I've moved from there to be connected to the city. We live in a great place that has, like Mike said earlier, dozens of different groups, nonprofits that hold events. Last weekend we were at the Friends of McNair, the elementary school fundraiser. It's one thing after another. Next weekend we have looked forward to the Butter and Eggs Day Parade. Every week there's something happening in this town. If you take advantage of it, I do, my family does. I can tell you that I meet hundreds of people through my kids. I think that's important. It's those connections that last a lifetime. Some of our best friends are made through those same connections. I'm always available. I'll meet anyone, anywhere, anytime. What can I say? Always available.
Well, thank you so much. So everybody take a deep breath, because we're going to get ready to close with some closing remarks. You might recall that we're going to start in reverse order. So we started with John. This time we're going to start with Mike. So when you're ready, Mike, if you'll take up to 2 minutes, give us a summary. Tell us all of those things that you wanted us to know about what qualifies you to hold a position and what you hope to achieve. What would you like to end up with us knowing about you?
In 2 minutes. Okay, well, I'm like several of the other candidates here, a native of Sonoma County. I grew up in Santa Rosa. The Santa Rosa I grew up in was about the size that Petaluma is now. I don't feel that old, but that's the case. And you know, I cherish this county. I think that these are very serious times, and we need to have more honest politics in the sense of actually confronting the issues rather than just having the kinds of platitudes and divisiveness that we've had in the past. I think I represent a different brand of political leadership than what the county has gotten in the past, because, as I said at one of the previous forums, we kind of have a Hatfield versus McCoy approach to local government, with, you know, all the interest groups on one side lining up behind one candidate and all the interest groups on the other side lining up behind another candidate, and then they beat each other up, and then whoever wins, you know, listens attentively to the people who got them elected and politely ignores everyone else. And I really think that, you know, as an independent voice, as a moderate, as someone who tries to keep open lines of communication with all sides, I'm open for ideas, no matter whether they come from the right, the left, or the center. You know, my academic and work background is in both engineering and law, so I have some technical expertise to deal with the kinds of complex technical and legal issues that are always on the plate at local government, and I would appreciate your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mike. And so, Pam, how would you like to wrap up this evening? 2 minutes to tell us what qualifies you and what you hope to achieve. What would you like us to know about you?
Well, these are tough economic times, and as mayor of the city of Petaluma, I have proven that I can make the tough choices that governing requires and achieve real results for us. Working together, we've implemented innovative urban planning to revitalize downtown Petaluma. We've encouraged smart economic development projects to create jobs that we need now. We protected open spaces by adopting an urban growth boundary, and we promoted infill development. Together, we prevented the privatization of Petaluma's wastewater treatment facility, and we created 171 acres of wetlands that is accessible to the public. As your supervisor, I will tackle our mounting county budget deficit and create a more open and accountable county government. I will push for state and federal funding for critical infrastructure projects that will keep our county moving and creating jobs. I have the executive leadership skills to protect our services and balance our budget. That's why I've been endorsed by Congresswoman Lynn Woolsey, the California Nurses Association, Sonoma County's teachers, the Sierra Club, and all of our local mayors. And I hope I can count on your vote. Thank you.
Thank you so much. David, this is your chance, your opportunity to tell us what qualifies you, what you'd like to achieve. What lasting thoughts would you like to leave us with this evening?
Sure, and thank you. Thank you very much for this evening, by the way. In my years in the Petaluma City Council, I've been open and honest. In my years on the Petaluma City Council, I've been open and honest. I've explained each and every vote I've taken to the best of my ability. I've made sure that you, my constituents, and you, the voter, know exactly where I was coming from and why. I've never taken a vote on an item in front of me for personal political gain. I've always voted in what I thought was best for the citizens of the city. I will do the same at the county. I will vote for what's best for our district citizens, what is best for Sonoma County residents. I'll continue to communicate with you with my thoughts. I will continue to be open to your ideas and your thoughts as well. We need to work together to solve the challenges ahead. Again, I'm not a career politician. You need more than government experience to be a successful supervisor. I bring a full breadth of experience to this position, a small business owner, an architect, and a council member. I continue to be an advocate for our youth to ensure that they have opportunities here in the county in all activities, sports, education, and otherwise. I bring my life experiences to this position as well, as a first-generation American, married to a wonderful woman, a nurse at UCSF, and as a father of 3 who mean everything in the world to me and want me to leave a better place for them. Because of these values and because I'm open and honest and proud to be the only candidate to have been endorsed by the following organizations: the Sonoma County Farm Bureau, the Sonoma County Alliance, Sonoma County Deputy Sheriff's Association, the Operating Engineers Local 3, Petaluma Police, Petaluma Fire Association, Roanoke Park Public Safety Officers Association, North Bay Leadership Council, North Coast Builders Exchange, San Antonio Fire Department, Redwood Empire Business Association, Engineering Contractors Association of Northern California, North Bay Association of Realtors, and Laborers Union International Local 139, as well as Sonoma County Sheriff Bill Cogbill, Petaluma City Council Member Mike Harris, Roanoke Park Mayor Pam Stafford, so there is one mayor that's not endorsed, my colleague to the left here, Roanoke Park Vice Mayor Gina Belforte, Roanoke Park Council members Amy Breeze and Joe Callanan, as well as Troy Sanderson, President of our school board, and Assemblyperson Joe Nation. So join me, join these individuals, and join these organizations, and together we can tackle the problems facing the 2nd District, and we can ensure Sonoma County remains vibrant and healthy for all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mike. And John, I know because you led off last time, we sort of shortchanged you, so now you have 2 whole minutes to tell us what qualifies you for county supervisor and what you'd like to achieve.
I'm overwhelmed. 2 minutes, that's good. Folks, take a good look, because you're looking at a candidate that hates politics. When you live in rural Sonoma County, you are never eligible to run for city council. We don't get to vote in the cities. We're the canaries in the coal mine out there. We're running out of water. We've got problems with land use restrictions in the county general plan, and we're being ignored by the cities. Having lived here my entire life, I can tell you with great certainty that this city is in decline. You've got 3 individuals, all of which are on the Petaluma City Council. They couldn't even issue a simple use permit for an existing lumberyard. This city has no lumberyard, and they're bragging about their brilliance, their leadership, their vision. Is anybody listening? Are you there? Without election, without appointment, and without taxpayer dollars. I took on the city of Roanoke Park. It was a 5-year battle in court, and it was tough. I took on the county general plan. I took on water issues. I was invited to the governor's office to make my best case as to why that casino in Roanoke Park should not move forward. This is what somebody looks like who scratches it out on their own from nothing. You don't have that in the other 3 candidates. Anybody can run for Petaluma City Council and get elected. Just take a look at the historical track record of this city. I don't recognize this town, and it's a mess. So you get a clear choice this time. somebody that's pulled themselves up by their own bootstraps, somebody with a background in public accounting, commercial lending, small business administration loan underwriting, family farming. I get land use, water, and the fundamentals that you folks are insulated from by living here in the city. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate everybody taking the time on the dais here. For over 50 years, AEUW has sponsored candidates' debates and forums, most frequently with our best chums, the League of Women Voters, and often with the Petaluma Argus-Courier. All three of us encourage informed and active participation in government. Because you're here tonight, or you're watching somewhere at home, we think that perhaps you clearly agree with that philosophy. You can find additional information, nonpartisan at that, on all the elections and candidates at the League's election website at smartvoter.org. As I mentioned before, this forum is being taped, so you'll have many opportunities to review just in case you missed something and you wanted to watch it later. I understand PCA may even have this available for purchase at $20, so you too could have your own copy. I would like so much to thank these candidates for joining us this evening. Please give them a round of applause now to show appreciation. On behalf of AEW, the League of Women Voters, and the Argus-Courier, I ask you to remember to vote on June 8th. You know, vote early, vote often. Good night.